Guys. So with all your questions that came in, I put together a waves review. So hopefully it touches on everything that you're still unsure of. So our first question, what is a wave? So a wave is a transfer of energy. It's not a transfer of any kind of material. So for instance, when we speak, the energy of our voice is transferred from air particle to air particle, and that is what is transferred to your eardrum. And that vibration, that energy against your ear, is what we hear. There are two general types of waves. We have mechanical and electromagnetic. Mechanical waves are any kind that need a medium to travel. So for instance, an ocean wave, if you've ever made a wave in a jump rope, slinky waves, a sound wave needs a medium. And then there's also electromagnetic, which is our electromagnetic spectrum. So microwaves, radio waves, ultraviolet light, visible light, gamma rays, all that kind of stuff. When we talk about types of waves, there are two further categories. You have transverse and longitudinal. Transverse is this image right here. So we say that a transverse wave travels perpendicular to the original pulse of energy. A longitudinal wave would be like something like this, and it travels parallel to the original pulse of energy. So for instance, a sound wave would look like this. If we were able to see sound traveling through the air, we would see the energy of our voice compress particles, and then those compressions would move on to other compressions. So that being said, this close together part is a compression, and the area that's really far apart is called a rarefaction. On a transverse waveform, we have crests, which are the top points, and troughs, which are the bottom points. Superposition of waves. So this is a kind of fancy way to talk about that waves interfere when they travel through different media. So I'm going to pull up, we did this, see if I can get this to look nice for us. Whoop. So this shows us that if I send two pulses, they will interfere when they meet in the middle. And we can see that even more clearly if we change the shape of the waves. Right, so they don't bounce off of each other, they pass through each other. So let's show individual pulses. We'll try that one more time. And when they combine in the center, what we're seeing is that their resultant wave is just the amplitudes of both waves added together. So if I now do two waves that are different direction, when they meet in the middle, so let's show that again. Pause so we can see it more clearly. When they meet in the middle, their amplitudes are still combining, but this time they subtract because they're going in opposite directions. So to find the amplitude of the resultant wave, we simply add the two amplitudes of the individual waves. And we can get this behavior where waves will either get much, much bigger or smaller. So this constructive and destructive interference, this superposition of waves, can result in something called a standing wave. And a standing wave is a wave pattern that appears to be standing still. It doesn't appear to be moving left to right, only appears to be moving up and down. So here are some examples of waveforms that could happen on a string for a standing wave. So in this first waveform, there's only 1/2 of a full wave. It has two nodes, two places where the wave appears not to be moving, and one antinode. This would be a full wave, so one full wavelength. It has 3 nodes and 2 antinodes, and so on and so forth, right? So we can look at whatever standing wave we want to, and we call these different standing waves harmonics. And it's just a fancy name to say that this wave that occurred is a multiple of this first wave. The third waveform that occurred is still a multiple of this wave. So it's just a fancy name for the different standing wave patterns that can happen. And this is how we can relate the different parameters of waves. So when we talk about string or open-end air column, we have the length of the string or the length of the open-end air column, n over 2 times wavelength, where n is the harmonic number. And then for closed-end air column, L equals n over 4 times wavelength, and n cannot be equal to an even number. It just doesn't occur. So in your instruments, when you guys had string instruments, you used this relationship. And if you had a closed-end air column, you would use this type. So this would be like your cups of water that you use, the water xylophone. So we have been predominantly focusing on sound waves. Sound waves are both mechanical and longitudinal. So that means that they need a medium to travel. And when they travel through space, they travel parallel to the initial pulse of energy. So in a Star Trek episode, a space station orbiting a distant moon blows up. The crew of the Enterprise immediately sees and hears the explosion. They realize that there is no chance for rescue. If you were hired as an advisor, what physics error would you have found and corrected? So the first issue is that light and sound travel at very different speeds. Sound in air at room temperature is about 343 meters per second. Light is about 3 times 10 to the 8th meters per second, so light is a lot faster. So you would have seen the explosion before you heard it. And the other issue here, let's get rid of that. The other issue here is that sound would not be able to travel through the vacuum of space. There is no medium for sound to travel through. Remember the catch line from the movie Alien, in space, no one can hear you scream? That's true because sound needs something to travel through. So let's look at some practice problems. So here are some examples of waveforms. I have it as a graph. I have a standing wave as a transverse waveform, and then I have an image of a longitudinal wave. So here are some key terms that are very important to know. If we wanted to measure the wavelength of any of these, we would need to measure the horizontal distance between any two repeating points. So if I looked at my graph, that would mean I'm measuring from crest to crest, trough to trough, or I could even do from the start of one wave to the start of the second wave. So it should be the horizontal distance between any two repeating points. The amplitude is given from the resting position. So on a graph, that would be the x-axis. The amplitude is the resting position to the maximum displacement. On our standing wave, we have a node at point D. We have an antinode at point C. I think that is an E is showing a compression of particles for a longitudinal wave. And per point A, B, C, D, E, F, point F is a rarefaction where all the particles are spread very, very far apart. So here I have a graph above, and it's an amplitude versus position. So amplitude on the y-axis and position on the x-axis. Identify the amplitude and wavelength of the wave. So if I was looking at wavelength, that is the horizontal distance. So again, I can measure from crest to crest, from trough to trough, or from the start of the first wave to the start of the second wave. And if I look at this waveform, I can see that one full wave is 6 meters. Okay, so that's the horizontal distance of one full wave. Amplitude is the measure from the resting position, so in this case the x-axis, to the highest position or to the lowest position. So the amplitude is at maximum displacement. So on here, that is also 6 meters. So we've got 6 meters this way and 6 meters this way. Now let's pretend that this whole wave pattern happened in 1 second. Could you determine the frequency and the period? Absolutely. Frequency is the number of waves that happen in 1 second. So I'd count, I have 1, 2, 3 waves in 1 second. So the frequency is 3 hertz. Period is 1 over the frequency. So if my frequency is 3 hertz, my period is 1/3 seconds. A person standing on the end of a football field yells to his friend, 65 meters away. The speed of sound in air is 346 meters per second. How long did it take for his friend to hear the yell? And if the frequency of the yell was 350 hertz, what is the wavelength of the yell? So just like we would for any of these problems, we start with our nodes. So this time we're given a distance of 65 meters and a velocity of the wave of 343. How long did it take for his friend to hear the yell? I'm looking for time. So we would want to use the relationship that velocity or speed is equal to distance over time. So it didn't give me any information about a wavelength, it's just telling me how far away the friend is and telling me how fast it'll take the sound to get to that friend. So now I can solve for time. Hopefully you found that the time it takes for the yell to reach the friend is 0.18 or about 0.19 seconds or 0.2 seconds. So pretty fast, but there's still a bit of a delay. And then if the frequency of the yell was 350 hertz, what is the wavelength of the yell? So in this case, I'm given information about frequency, and I want to find wavelength, so I'm going to use the relationship V equals F lambda. And when I solve for that, 343 over 350, let's find out. The wavelength of the wave is 0.98 meters, approximately 1 meter. So that's a really basic overview of everything that we have touched upon. I'll also be posting extra practice problems for you guys to work on. Let me know if you have any questions.